Welcome to this EDUcast, Monitoring Collaboration Success, sponsored by Vyopta and Telecom Reseller. And today we have Jonathan Sass, the Vice President, Product Management of Vyopta, and I'm Gary Audin. As we usually do, we discuss our agenda. We're going to be talking a lot about collaboration, especially now that so many people are collaborating, working from home, and the quality of that collaboration has become even more important. What are the success attributes of good collaboration? Why meetings have changed? How do you measure collaboration experiences? Let's talk about the new normal that people are encountering. We're going to then discuss monitoring and analytics, and especially something very important because it's likely you have the situation, multi-vendor unified communications. So Jonathan, let's start off with the first question. We hear the word collaboration a lot, especially for employees who work from home. What is the best definition you know of?
There's a lot of great definitions of collaboration, but at the end of the day, one commonality across all of them is collaboration is about people working together to achieve a common business goal. Here at Vyopta, we're focused on improving collaboration experiences for people within organizations large and small by providing monitoring and analytics around the technologies that are being used, the spaces and which that collaboration is taking place, and by providing insights that help the end users of that technology better leverage them.
You mentioned the word goals. What are the attributes of a successful collaboration?
And it's really important for the people in that meeting to have a high quality experience. I think we've all been in meetings where it's taken 5 or 10 minutes to get that meeting set up, to get everybody in, or a meeting where there's been call quality issues in the middle of the meeting, and you can't hear the presenter or see the presentation, or it lags behind. And if you're going to have an effective meeting, it's important for that meeting to be a high quality experience for all that's involved, whether that is internally or externally in a situation where you may be working with customers or clients. And so goals for a successful meeting, in addition to meeting basics like making sure you have an agenda, making sure that the instructions for getting in the meeting are easy to understand and everybody knows where that meeting is taking place, it's also to make sure that experience is powerful for all of the users with high quality voice and video.
Now let's move into the opposite side of things, all right? What happens when collaboration doesn't work right?
Ultimately, the goals of that meeting may not be met. If it's a sales call, potentially the person you're talking to may get frustrated and leave that meeting. Or if it's an internal team of users collaborating, if there's poor experience, that meeting may get extended and ultimately go on for longer than is needed. Ultimately, in many organizations, the productivity of the employees are paramount. And if you're having poor meeting experiences, your employees ultimately aren't meeting their peak productivity, which ultimately will frustrate the users and management within that organization. And in some cases, will lead to user reluctance to continue to use those collaboration technologies, and an increased number of tickets and complaints going to the IT teams and UC teams managing those technologies.
Now, I've looked in the past at meeting sizes, and they tended to be pretty small, but has work from home really changed the number of members and the meeting size?
We've seen a dramatic increase in the number of larger meetings as organizations focus on the safety of their employees and continuing to embrace remote work. The number of larger meetings has dramatically increased and outpaced the growth in the smaller meetings. As you can see, even though the majority of meetings that are taking place still have between 2 and 4 participants, most of the growth has come from the meetings that have 10, 20, or more participants, as larger groups are meeting together to collaborate, but also to share information, replacing existing company town halls with now virtual town hall type meetings.
Your company does a lot of analysis of what's happened out there, and call abandonment means failure to connect. What has happened to this problem? And this graph that you've provided, I think, is very illustrative of the problems.
This problem has increased with the increased adoption of collaboration technologies. One, because these technologies are being used more, but even the rate in which they're occurring increases as providers, networks are being taxed with the increased adoption of the technology. We're seeing an increased number of issues.
Has this continued to be a problem? Because I notice on your graph here, it goes up and down. It's not going to a flat line.
So it continues to be a problem. A lot of it depends on specific issues that may be going on within the network or with the provider at a given time. And it's really important, and it's the reason why tools like Vyopta exist, to identify where that issue exists, whether it is within the IT infrastructure, whether it's with the provider you may be working with, whether that's a UCaaS provider or meeting solution, or whether the root cause of that is with the end user environment, the technology in which they're using, maybe from an office or a remote location, or their home network.
When you say you wonder where the problem is, this graph I think is very important, where you're contrasting on-premises enterprise unified communications versus unified communications as a service. Would you compare the two for us?
What we've noticed early in the pandemic is the percent of bad calls was different for on-prem enterprise UC environments versus the UCaaS environments. We identified two main reasons for this. One, UCaaS grew very, very rapidly early in the pandemic, putting strain on existing networks and infrastructure, which caused much of that bad call quality experience as organizations and providers were trying to scale up quickly. Secondarily, there's just more involved in the UCaaS world. More of it lives outside the organization's network and outside the visibility of the IT professional. An IT professional doesn't necessarily have control over someone's home network. While within the organization, the on-premise enterprise systems, the room endpoints, even though they're not being used as much today, they're more consistent because the IT pro has greater visibility and a greater ability to plan from a capacity standpoint. And this is largely a reaction to what happened with the rapid increase in remote work.
The term new normal is quite frequently used. How does it relate to collaboration, though?
So the new normal within collaboration is very video-centric. Video is the new standard. And particularly what we're seeing within organizations is a great increase in UCaaS. 80% of companies today are relying on UCaaS providers for collaboration within their organizations for many reasons, partially because this allowed them to rapidly scale early on in the pandemic. We're seeing three particular providers really pull ahead in this particular space: Microsoft, Cisco, and Zoom. What's really interesting, though, is quite often these technologies are all within the same environment. Organizations using Microsoft Teams, WebEx, and Zoom, or 2 out of the 3. And this sometimes happens by department, where individual departments are adopting particular technologies. And other times it's broken down by internal versus external collaboration, where one tool is chosen for internal collaboration within the organization, while another tool is chosen for that type of external collaboration. And so that has led to a rise of multi-vendor UC environments within the UCaaS world. But then also many organizations are continuing to support and even invest in their existing on-prem infrastructure as they look at planning into next year to support the organization as some of the employees will go back into the office. Organizations are also continuing to invest in those on-prem systems, particularly in use cases where they're looking for additional security or control over those environments.
Yeah, the slide we're looking at has the words "quality is king." What are the key sources of success that produce quality collaboration?
So it's critical for both IT and business leaders to understand the quality of the collaboration that's taking place. And a lot of that goes back to understanding the quality of the actual meetings themselves, both from a leadership standpoint within the IT departments, but even more so the growth within the C-suite, wanting to better understand the quality of collaboration experience taking place. And as I mentioned before, there are 3 key places to understand when it comes to identifying potential issues of quality: the UC or IT infrastructure, the end user technology, which is increasingly outside the corporate network and maybe in people's home offices, or the third parties that organizations are relying on for some of their UCaaS services.
The words monitoring and analytics are on this page. Would you contrast monitoring versus analytics? What drives the other?
So to start off, both monitoring and analytics are important for organizations. The first way monitoring analytics are even alike is both can help identify and improve the quality of video and voice experiences, those collaboration experiences we've been talking about. I like to think about monitoring as real-time troubleshooting, the ability to detect an issue, investigate that issue, identify that remediation step that needs to be taken, and then be the ability to go back and ultimately verify that it's been solved. And the Vyopta tool specifically is designed to help do that process in a way that reduces the troubleshooting time and can help proactively identify those issues. So as a UC engineer or an IT help desk tech, you're not getting the ticket from your end user that might be upset. You're hearing it from Vyopta first, so you can get ahead of that particular issue. From an analytics perspective, I look at analytics as insights. And some of those insights are all around the quality of experience in identifying and resolving systematic issues that aren't affecting a single user, but maybe going on sporadically or intermittently over a longer period of time across a large number of users. And having that rich data set helps identify and detect what those issues might be. But it also can be used to help provide valuable insights to other parts of the organization. We saw a major uptick during the early pandemic that continues on to today, where business leaders are going to the UC and IT teams asking for information around the usage and adoption of their technology, not only to make purchasing decisions, but also as key indicators around the health of the overall business, such as looking at employee productivity by department, or wanting to see what the activity levels look like as an indicator of morale or sales pipeline health. So there's a lot of uses for analytics apart from just solving and identifying quality issues.
Why is the multi-vendor unified communications environment becoming a standard, and will that continue?
So the majority of organizations already relying on multiple technologies. A lot of this happened early on in the pandemic as organizations needed to quickly scale. And some providers struggled with being able to keep up. And so organizations look to adopt multiple technologies, in some cases a primary and a secondary, to ensure that they had the business continuity that they needed. Whether those be external UCaaS providers or whether those be internal technologies that are hosted on premise. And so we've seen this mass proliferation of the technology that exists. And in some of these vendor environments, they're inherently multi-vendor. I like using Microsoft Teams as an example. If you're an organization that has Cisco endpoints, you're going to need an interoperability partner to help connect Microsoft Teams with those Cisco endpoints. And so the UC world is continuing to become increasingly more multi-vendor as different technologies are being adopted, and we see this continuing into the future.
Please describe Vyopta's collaboration performance management and the kinds of insights that can be provided.
Today, Vyopta offers 2 products: our collaboration performance management product, which is designed to help you proactively avert disruptions within your UC estate and identify systematic issues. And with the analytics within this product, understand not only the user experience, but also the adoption of that technology so that you can plan and report on the health of your UC estate. We also offer Workspace Insights, which combines the monitoring and analytics data from our collaboration performance management product with additional calendaring and sensor data to help you optimize the spaces in which that technology is being used so that you can optimize the experience of those users and identify behaviors within those spaces to optimize their utilization and plan for the future.
You have a lot of organizations listed on this slide. What organizations are now using Vyopta solutions, and what have they gained from using those solutions?
Today, Vyopta works with many leading organizations across many different commercial verticals and governments. We work with these organizations to help them simplify their troubleshooting process to ensure the quality of their collaboration experiences.
I've been to your website and I've noticed you have a lot of good resources, an ebook, videos, and the like, and these are some of the resources I suggest the viewers take a look at. This is the information you need to contact Vyopta to learn more about what is offered. And I'd like to thank you, Jonathan, for this very insightful EDUcast.
Thank you, Gary.